Well, I'll be honest, I'm not quite sure I expected to be making a video after Week 12 talking about the Cleveland Browns' playoff chances after their rough start to this season, but they've been playing pretty good football recently, actually, and it all starts with the quarterback. It's been Baker Mayfield having a couple of good games, and probably his best game so far this season was last week against the Miami Dolphins. I know it's Miami, it's not the best team out there, but at the same time, he played really well. His stats were definitely very impressive. He had 327 yards, 3 touchdowns to 1 interception, and he also had a completion percentage of over 70%. It honestly did. It kind of reminded me of what Baker Mayfield looked like towards the end of last season. He kind of had that good side of the gunslinger back. He's playing some good football, and let's just jump into it. We'll start things off with this play. That's going to be the coverage. It's zone coverage. And for Cleveland, those are the routes their receivers will be running. And the one route in particular that actually could end up being the one that gets open would be that route, since it's going to be in the gap in coverage in between the defensive backs deep and the defensive players who are going to be sort of in the middle of the field. So for Baker, that is going to be his first read. He fakes the handoff and looks up and tries to see if that receiver is open. However, if you notice, the Miami Dolphins are doing a pretty good job of staying pretty far deep here. Their linebackers were not fooled whatsoever, as you notice. The linebackers are playing pretty far deep, as you notice, which is taking away any potential window that Baker could try to make this throw to. And also, if you notice, there's pressure coming, so Mayfield is in trouble right here. However, watch what he's going to do. He's going to roll out to the bottom half of the screen, which gives his receiver time to get open. He makes a great on-the-run throw, and they're able to get the first down. I mean, that is the kind of Baker Mayfield that we were expecting to see this season. That is the Baker Mayfield that we saw at the end of last season. The guy who can make plays with his feet and can also make some really good throws. He did both of those on that play, and it's plays like that that make him, that's kind of the reason why he was so hyped. That's the reason why you see 18 commercials of him every time you watch a football game this season, because he did have a really good rookie season by making plays like that, and it's cool to see that Baker Mayfield appears to be back. One other thing I liked about the Browns is the fact that they're actually pretty good in the red zone this game, which for the most part that has been maybe their biggest problem was red zone efficiency, but this game they did a very good job in the red zone, and one way they were able to be effective is a play like this. It's going to be a cover one blitz right here, which that means that for Baker, just find a matchup you like the best and make a throw in that direction, and the matchup he likes the best is going to be Landry running that route right there, and that is where he's going to take a look at to begin this play. But as you see, right when the ball is snapped, Landry isn't exactly wide open, but Mayfield, he's going to throw it in this direction, and the reason why is because he trusts that Landry is going to get open. Yes, there's not much separation now, but once Landry cuts to the middle, he should be able to get open. That's what happens. Landry makes the catch and gets into the end zone for a touchdown. It was a really well run route by Landry. That cut was just so sudden that it was really hard to actually just be able to, cover that, and also Baker Mayfield made a perfectly accurate throw. Can't really beat that if you're Miami. I know people are going to talk about this game and say, well, sure, Baker Mayfield put up numbers and he did play well, but he played well against Miami. A lot of guys play well against Miami, but a play like that, I don't care if you have a great corner in that situation, it's tough to defend that. To me, that's why I was impressed with Mayfield. I do, when I watch tape, I take into consideration the quality of the opponent, but Baker Mayfield was playing well, and even if he was playing against a high-quality opponent, he was still putting up numbers and making some really good throws. This one's another interesting one. It's the same play, but just in a different situation. Instead of in an end zone situation, it's going to be in the middle of the field. It's a cover one blitz once again. And Cleveland, they actually have a play concept that is designed to beat a cover one blitz. They're going to have their receiver and their halfback run those two routes right there. And so it's essentially just going to create a rub route where the receiver will get in the pathway of the defensive player who's in charge of covering Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb can run out to the bottom half of the screen and potentially get wide open. That's the way it's going to work. And right after the ball is snapped, what you will notice is that the defensive player for Miami who's in charge of covering Chubb has a lot of distance to cover if he's going to actually cover Chubb. But what I love about this from Mayfield is watch how he makes this throw. He just throws a bullet pass straight to Chubb, which is something you don't see a lot of guys do, but it makes a ton of sense. I mean, you have a defensive player trying to close some ground, so why give him a chance? You can just hit Chubb quickly. He was able to hit Chubb in an instant, and also in a perfect spot where Chubb was able to make the catch and run for more yards, and they were able to pick up a pretty solid gain on that one, largely not just because of the accurate throw, while the throw was accurate. A large part of it was how quickly he got it there as well. Both of those two things played in, and they played in a big way, which is what allowed Baker Mayfield and the Browns to get a first down. It's how he was able to have so much success in his first season as a quarterback, and it's also how he was able to have so much success, last week against the Dolphins, is his accuracy. And this play is a key way it can come in handy, where it's going to be a cover one robber this time, and for Baker, he's going to fake a handoff, and then he's going to hit a receiver running a slant route right there. And not just any receiver, but that's Odell Beckham Jr., who's kind of the king of slant routes. He's the guy you want in the slant route situation, so this seems like it's going to be a good idea for the Browns. On paper, it's a good route against this type of coverage, and after the ball is snapped, it works out even better. As you see, if you look at Beckham, I mean, he is just wide open. He just owned his one-on-one matchups, so without a doubt, this is going to be a completion. And also, if you look at the safety who's in charge of covering the middle of the field, he is prepared for a potential run right here. So because he's prepared for a run, he's moved in a little bit more than he already would have. So now Beckham can absolutely make this catch and run for even more yards than he already would have been able to. But I like how accurate that throw is, too. Watch how it's just perfectly where it needs to be. Beckham makes the catch and is able to pick up as many yards as possible. I know that was a very low degree of difficulty type play. Mayfield has to be able to make that throw. If that was incomplete, it would be a disaster. I mean, you can't play in the NFL if you can't make that one be complete. But at the same time, because he was so accurate, it allowed Beckham to be able to make the catch in stride and run for as many yards as possible. So it gave him more yards in that play than a less accurate pass would have. So again, that's kind of the thing. Yards after the catch oftentimes can be a quarterback stat just as much as they are a receiver stat, and that's a good example of it right there. I do think that Odell Beckham also had one of his better games in a Browns uniform. He's had some good games. Obviously, the 161-yard game against the Jets on Monday Night Football was probably his best game. He also passed 100 yards against Seattle, but he had a pretty good game himself against Miami as well. He had 6 receptions for 84 yards and a touchdown, and let's show that touchdown because it was pretty fascinating. What's going to happen for Miami is they're playing cover 3 zone right here, and that's going to be Beckham's route, which you would think probably won't get that open. I mean, maybe it's something Baker could just take a shot to if it's a one-on-one matchup, so maybe you could look there, but that's probably not where Mayfield is going to look. However, one key thing to take a look at is the receiver on the top half of the screen is running that route right there, where it's going to be kind of like he's faking as though he's running in, and then he'll run to the outside. That's the way that route is going to work. And it's actually going to create a really good situation for the Cleveland Browns, because if you look, the safety who's deep, he actually falls for this. He thinks that Brown is going to be cutting over the middle of the field, so he's running in to make sure that he takes away that route, which is pretty interesting. It's definitely a pretty bold call. He's playing aggressive here, seeing if he can get an interception, but it's not going to work out for a couple of reasons. The most obvious is that it's actually not a route running over the middle, so he kind of just put himself out of position for nothing. But the other reason is I think he just didn't see Odell, because now Beckham can easily get open. But again, this is a tough throw to make. I mean, we saw in the Super Bowl a similar situation happened when the Rams all of a sudden had Brandon Cooks wide open in the end zone, but it just took Jared Goff an extra second to realize what was going on, and then when he made the throw, he wasn't able to get it there quick enough. But Mayfield, he realizes this very quickly, gets the ball over to Beckham, and they're able to get the touchdown. So was that a bad play by Miami? I mean, absolutely yes. It absolutely was. Miami screwed up, and it resulted in a touchdown, but at the same time, what do I always say? I feel like I say this on almost every video. What is a good player's job? It's to take advantage of the opportunities in front of you. Mayfield got a wide open opportunity in front of him, but he took advantage in a big way, made a great throw, found his open man, and was able to get a touchdown. It really has been quite the roller coaster season for Cleveland. They went from getting blown out by the Titans to then blowing out the Baltimore Ravens week 4 and retaking the lead for the division, or actually just taking it for the first time. And then immediately after, they lost on Monday Night Football to the 49ers. They got blown out. They blew a game they probably should have won to Seattle. They blew a game they had a chance to win to the Patriots. And then they lost to the Broncos, so that was kind of the lowest of the low. But now they're on a little 3-game win streak here, where they've beaten the Bills and the Steelers, 2 pretty solid teams. And now they've gone ahead and blown out the Dolphins. So they're kind of, going back up a little. Their game against Pittsburgh will be huge, but if they can win that game, they still have the Bengals twice on their schedule. They have the Cardinals, who are, they're not a cupcake by any means, but they're also not a team that I think you're afraid of. They're kind of a little bit below mediocre at this point, and they're rebuilding, so they will be trying to win that game, but still. And then the one game that they will have some problems with would be the Baltimore Ravens, but it's at home, and they have beaten the Ravens before, so maybe they have a chance in that one. I am not writing the Browns off at all at this point. I think there is a very real chance they go, winning 4 out of those 5 games and end up 10-6 and get that second playoff spot. I think it's also possible they would just get blown out by the Steelers and then lose to the Bengals twice or something, just because it's Cleveland and for whatever reason the football gods hate the Cleveland Browns. So really, you never know what's going to happen. But at least, hey, it is worth mentioning there's 5 games left and the Browns have a chance to make the playoffs. So 2 years ago, you would definitely take that. So try to keep these things in perspective a little bit. I know this season's been disappointing, but with this 3-game win streak, it's probably being a lot more fun if you're a Cleveland Browns fan. And at least, if nothing else, you maybe have something to build off for next season. And it probably has saved Freddie Kitchens' job. I think there was a chance Freddie Kitchens got fired if they just completely bottomed out. I think Kitchens is going to be there unless something really disastrous happens the last 5 games. But that's just my opinion. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And as always, thanks for watching.